Okay, so here we are in Baja, California, ready to do a little grafting for an avocado today. I noticed a bruised branch on my winter-bearing avo that came off during some vine removal, and it has these lovely little leaf buds. If you can notice, kind of, you know, I've taken off the side branches, but there's new buds, which is new growth coming up in several of those places. So I'm going to wrap this scion wood with some parafilm tape and dip it in root hormone and honey. The honey is antibacterial and retains moisture really well. So I'm going to turn this into the scion wood through a nice long bias cut exposing the cambium layer, and then find a branch about the same size on an avocado tree that got tipped over in our hurricane last two months ago. And so right now there's a bunch of new growth that's about 2 to 3 months old, and this is kind of similar to what we would call top working a tree. So let's go outside and make this new avocado branch on an old tree. Hi there. We're in Baja, California in my garden, and we're going to do a little grafting of an avocado today. So this avocado tree actually got knocked over in a hurricane in September, so that was about October, November, December, about 3 months ago. And there's this new growth, and you know, some people will chop the top of a tree that's not bearing the fruit they want, and they'll call that top working, and you know, and then we can graft into this new growth. So I just happened to have a fairly small winter-bearing avocado on the property as well, and there was a branch that didn't make it through as well, and I decided that I would clip it and use some of its new little leaf buds that are popping out. Like often at these junctures with a branch, new little leaf bud energy is coming out, and that could be the perfect scion to graft onto this root stock. So with grafting, basically we're going to take some parafilm tape, connect the scion, we're going to open and expose the cambium layer, which is the layer between the bark and the central pith of a branch that we are basically making into. We're going to try and line that up as much as possible with an already established tree, and then the fruit from this tree, the fruit that we know we want, we're cloning onto a wild tree that we don't actually know what the fruit tastes like. We planted this about 7 years ago, hasn't fruited. You know, a local friend gave it to us, and it may end up being really good kind of wild criolla avocado, or it may end up just being you know, a volunteer seed that isn't going to produce much. But if we get this Zutano onto it, then we've got a real good crop. We can selectively prune branches depending on what we want. So I'm going to actually come in here and try and graft onto some of this growth that's similar in size to some of these pieces. So I need to get out my grafting knife. So here I've got my grafting knife, and the grafting knife is special in that it is single beveled. This side is completely flat, and there's only one bevel. And what that allows us to do is make a cut where the entire side is flat, so that can then press up against the rootstock without air pockets. So ideally, when we're making cuts in the scion wood and on the rootstock, we're making very precise, straight cuts, and then the two of those are going to line up with as little air, bacterial infection as possible, and the cambium layers are going to be pressed up, and the energy that this thing gets from its roots and the carbohydrates coming in from photosynthesis from the sun are going to supply these new little leaf buds to grow. So, can you see me down here? Okay, so I'm gonna come up here. I'm gonna make a cut, maybe just a couple of inches long. So I'll come up to this shelf here, and I'm gonna just take this all the way through at a nice bias. Okay, that was nice. And then we do a little back cut to allow the backside to connect into the tree as well. And then I'm going to get that a little bit of honey drying energy, and I have my parafilm grafting tape that I'm going to wrap around here. So I want all that cambium layer exposed. So I'm going to start just above that. I'm going to wrap this to hold the moisture in the tree. Then I will come back and I will wrap again to connect the two. Here we have a rootstock about the same size as this scion, so I'm going to pick away some of the leaves, just make it a little easier to cut in. And then this also has some new growth, which represents a good time to be putting that in. And there we have a nice cut. And expose a fair bit of the cambium layer. Now we can set those up right against one another. And so what we're doing is we've got the scion wood there, and trying to get it as tight as possible with the rootstock. And then we'll wrap it with this parafilm, hopefully creating an environment where, where this tree will grow new buds. So we're wrapping that up nice and tight, keeping the air out. Hopefully all the cambium layers are lined up well enough to have this start bearing, and it could bear next year once this grows into a nice branch. Here we've got one of our avocado trees that fell over in the hurricane last year. So the light might be off and there's a lot of weeds growing, but the weeds are just kind of coming up this trunk end. So like, you know, this point is actually used to be the roots of the thing, and now it's in midair. And what ended up happening is we got a lot of these great shoots off of here. And so this avocado variety was called criollo, which means that it was a wild variety that's fairly edible. Most avocado edibles are varietals, you know, and so we graft avocado trees most of the time. But there's occasionally a wild one that, you know, people like. I mean, that's how we get varietals. So this one was like a traditional varietal that worked out well. And then here we find, you know, a few of these grafts. So we grafted a couple new varietals onto these new shoots. And so, like, say something like this, where I see this new the graft, and I want everything above it, I'm going to come in here and snap off a lot of these suckers underneath it, because they're just taking energy. So I'm going to clean up underneath here and give a little bit more space to the ones that we really want in here. Okay, and then, like, you know, if I look at this is wow, that is a wild shoot. Whereas this one looked like this. Looks like that graft did not work, and so right out from under it, you know, they're sending a sucker. And again, like if this graft had worked, I would, you know, want to clip that sucker off. And anyway, I might clip it off. I want to leave a few of the suckers on here because this was an interesting variety first off, but I also want to make sure I'm giving most of the energy to these new varietals. I got a winter bearing Zutano that I want to propagate down here. So yeah, I think I won't clip this yet, but certainly would be fine if I did. I want to just explore a little more. This is again another graft that didn't work, so we can clip that. This is a solid piece that looks like it potentially was grafted. I'm going to let this be as kind of its own thing, not know whether this was a graft or not. I don't see the tape, but it's super happy, and it looks like it was scored here. So it looks like there's potential that this was a graft, but I actually can't tell, which means I'm gonna clip this one because then I want to check the other side where we have another. So this is wild because we have this one going this way and then the one going the other way. I'm going to clip this branch. This is a good branch, but it's right in the way of this other graft that works. So now we've got a graft on each side, and I'm going to take this one off as well. Well, it's kind of cool, but it's great that there's two varietals here at the end that are plugging along. So I want to leave the strongest, kind of most upright branches kind of going off of here. So that's looking really good. I might clean this up a little more in the next week. I don't want to take off too much right now. This one, I mean, I want to decide where I want to leave a few of the natural plant and then leave a few of the varietals that successfully grafted. This one's probably going to come off because I think that is just competing with this one that looks either like it's going to be the same or this one's a more special varietal. And then right here at the base, I know I have a big monster that this one, I think I'll definitely leave. This looks like a solid tree, kind of rooted right into the roots. So I think that's going to be one I definitely want to leave. Maybe I'll prune some of this side of it just to give things to my varietal side. Okay, this is gorgeous. This worked really well. At least 2-3 of the grafting limbs worked out on this branch, on this fallen avocado. So we are psyched.